I'm a moderator. Yep, it's true.
AMP the
I almost
moderator.
heard that as monorail for a second.
Monorail.
I'm the monorail.
Monorail.
And then the whole Simpsons song kicked in.
Oh yeah, there you go. Monorail. Monorail.
I gotta be honest about something. I was so busy getting ready this morning that I didn't do my hair. And if there's something I am very vain about, or maybe not vain, I don't know, maybe it's I've always loved doing my hair, and I feel self-conscious that it's not like done today. Not that I'm looking for,
I didn't actually
anything.
even notice.
Yeah.
That though.
I have to be honest about something, Adam. I had noticed, but I wasn't going to say
Oh,
it.
dang it. I knew it.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, no, Luis noticed it. He's like, dude, what's up with your hair? And I was like, ah, dang it.
But see, he's seen you without the headphones. Headphones hide
right.
a lot.
Headphones
I
hide
feel
a lot. Yeah. But we were going to do a pre-recorded video after this, and I was just like, should I push it off again? Because I didn't do my hair today.
We have hairspray. We have hairspray in the studio.
I can't. Yeah, I can't do hairspray.
I should have brought some.
I need volume. I've got my special
That's what
expensive.
hairspray's for.
Yeah.
Wait, do you use wax or gel? What do you use? for hair product?
So the company itself is oh crap.
Clay.
No, it's a pomade. It's like a version of a pomade, but it's Imperial Barber products.
Imperial Barber.
Yeah,
Sounds fancy.
Imperial Barber products, and it is the classic pomade, but it's water based, so it's easy to dry out and doesn't get greasy. So no, I'm sorry, it's the gel pomade, not the classic. No, is it? Okay, well now I'm confused because on the photo it looks like the classic pomade is yellowish, and mine's not that yellow. So I don't know. It's one of the pomades. I think it's the classic one.
There you go.
But strong hold, low shine. It holds it tight. It's water based, so it's easy to rinse. And I tried to do Brill cream a long time ago, and it was just so greasy. Oh, yeah. So anyway, hello.
Hello.
I shaved my head.
Yeah, well there you go. You keep it easy.
What do you use for your beard, Brad?
It's called like Honest Amish or something like that. Beard oil.
Yeah, it's the same one I use. It's Amish.
Yeah.
It's an Amish company. Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
It's cheap and it's good.
And it's got a funny photo on it. Yeah.
In the summer, you can use it on your armpit hair too. Really impress the folks down at the beach.
It took me a second. I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, keep it nice and oily.
I did not expect to get that grooming tip on the Full Nerd. I'm just gonna say that.
Yo, we're punchy today. What is it? Wednesday? It's not our usual day.
Oh, gosh.
So we're talking about hair products and armpit hair. Yeah, and
It's different on a Wednesday, isn't it?
it's different. The show is remarkably different on a Wednesday. If you're just tuning in, just know that this is not the usual day. But yeah, we're here. It is a Wednesday, but we're here with news, with releases. I've got some of the releases, or I guess these are the releases lined up here on the desk that we're going to talk about today. We got the full nerd crew back, sans Gordon, of course, but
I wish I was here last week. It was a shame I had to miss it. That looked like an awesome lineup of folks to talk with.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Luckily, yeah, Will and Alex. I feel bad because Alex is like in Germany or wherever, and so it's late his time, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're just gonna talk for a couple hours. He's like, oh yeah, awesome, and then I'm like, oh man, I just took up pretty much all of his evening. But he's always game. I appreciate having Alex on, and of course Will. No, it's good. And of course we got all the friends of the show here to keep us fun. Tan May, Skeets, CR Pole,
Hello.
Ziv, Lewis Law, Coffee. All the cool kids are here to talk about PC hardware. It is the God. Are we at the end of the CES product glut? Yeah, I think so.
Feels like it.
Right?
We should be.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. For a CES that didn't have like a ton of huge announcements, there was still enough that has kept me busy and continues to keep me busy. Yeah. Oh.
But they're all about to launch now. I think I just saw the Asus OLED laptop, the dual screen one, just like
Oh yeah.
launched.
That's fine. That's somebody else's problem.
Yeah. I'm not handling laptops. That's somebody else. Actually, I had one of my family members who's a normie, not a tech person at all, like message me on Instagram. They shared a video of oh crap, it's not Brian Tong. Oh crap, I can't remember. One of the guys covering that laptop at CES, and they were like, "Whoa, did you check this out?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's cool. I had no idea that would have come across your feed as somebody who's a non-tech person." And now I can't.
Yeah,
remember
that was Tuesday for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and friend of the show, Dr. Ian Cuttress, Tech Potato is here.
Hello, Dr.
And
Tech Potato.
Yeah, the party can start.
yeah, late May, early June is Computex. He's already getting ready for Computex.
Gonna have ask Ian to teach me how to floss.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. Since the last show, I guess we had the behind the scenes go up before the last show. But that was pretty fun in there. Brad,
That's damn impressive. Oh yeah, I regret missing that.
yeah, and Brad showed off his winning money. And this Moomin. Somebody corrected you in the chat saying Moomin's like
It's French.
or something.
Finnish. I said French. They said Finnish. I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, Finnish, right.
I don't know anything about it. So.
Thank you, YouTube commenter, for proving that my grandmother is a liar. I've been waiting for this moment for years. She cheats at Uno. Now I know she lies about
Grandma.
So.
Grandma, you're the worst. God. Just kidding. I'm sure Grandma Choco Taco.
Rules don't fly anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's like, whatever. Actually, no, there was definitely things growing up that my parents, like I learned, and I was like, oh wow, my parents completely taught me that wrong. I don't think intentionally. It's just you didn't have something to Google easily back in the day. We didn't have these.
I missed that from when I was a kid. You would sit there and chat with buds. I bet you this is right. No, I bet you this is right.
No, I heard this, man.
Just have to, yeah. Then you just have to sit there and be like, well, one of those might be right.
My family was never, did not have enough money to buy. I always wanted the big Encyclopedia Britannica set. Yeah, it was just like one of those things where I was like, oh man, if only my family had this, I would know everything.
Yeah.
Then I got a smartphone.
I don't think kids these days actually appreciate how revolutionary it was. Where somebody's like, you see this disc? It has the entire encyclopedia on it. You're like, whoa.
That's all you'll ever need. That's all you.
When I was younger, just to date myself, door-to-door salesman came by the house when I was younger, trying to sell a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas. And my dad goes, hey man, I would. I'm a big believer in knowledge. The kid's reading a book over there right now, but my wife is illiterate, and I try not to rub it in her face by leaving all the books around the house.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's a good way to turn them away. Because what are they going to be? Like, they're like, no, I really want to sell you this. And you're like, dude, I just told you my wife. Like, are you insulting my wife?
Wow.
I was maybe 6, and it was great.
Yeah, Wednesdays hit different, definitely.
Real quick, since we're talking about back in my days kind of thing, the other day I was just cleaning my car, my old Civic. I'm selling my car, my coupe. Sorry, internet. I'm going all sedan now. So I was deep cleaning the car, and then I found a piece of note with the Disneyland logo on it, and it was actually a handwritten direction. And I was like, this is because the car is 2006, so this is pre-Google Maps, pre-GPS device. I was using MapQuest. I just hand wrote all this stuff down going to IKEA. I was like, okay, left turn to this street, right turn to that, and then get to your destination at X amount of miles. I was like,
yeah, I remember holding a folded piece of paper on my steering wheel so I could be like, that I would actually look down at it or something.
Yeah.
Kids these days, they don't know how good they have it.
MapQuest, man. MapQuest was the jam. All right.
Shout out to Google Maps. You're the real MVP.
Right? Yeah. All right. We're not here to talk about maps, though. I mean, we could, I guess. It is a Wednesday, so all rules are obviously broken. We already have a super chat, so I need to get to that. I'm not ignoring your super chat. I'm just going to bring it up. It is a question, so thank you.
Before we get to the show, we got a sponsor ad read.
And we do.
Yeah,
So yeah, why don't I make sure I have my notes queued up so we can do it properly. All right, let's do it.
Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Adam's going to present the sponsored.
Which I'm touching gingerly. Yeah, all the people in the chat are noticing that I'm just lovingly rubbing on this frag box.
Oh boy. All right.
As one does.
Wednesdays. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go. This episode of The Full Nerd is sponsored by Falcon Northwest. Head over to falconnorthwest.com to configure your ultimate PC now.
In this episode of in this episode of The Full Nerd, we review yet another CPU and GPU. Welcome, everybody, to episode 288 of The Full Nerd, PC World's premier PC hardware podcast. I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray. On the line, I have Brad Choco Taco Charkis. Hello, Brad.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Internet.
And you look so you look so chill on your couch there. You know, just lounging.
It's my 2024 vibe.
Love it. Yeah. And also on the line is Elena Yee. We don't have a nickname for you, do we? No, the Deals Ninja, right? The Deals Ninja, Elena Yee. That was hello.
Yeah, I think that's what you call me.
Yeah, and you're
I've
excited
been
about
called many.
you're excited about your sweater. You want to show that off?
Oh, my sweatshirt.
Yeah, your sweatshirt.
So
For the audio listeners, maybe describe.
okay, so that's for the video viewers. For the audio listeners, I have basically, I don't know, it's just like a logo,
Mhm.
a circular logo that says the Oxford, Grammar Society, established 1893, which I didn't actually verify is accurate or not, but it's the motto is fighting ambiguity, confusion, and poor syntax.
I dig it. Did you have to do any special initiation to get part of that society?
I paid a lot for a college degree.
Oh, there you go. Hey. That'll get anybody.
Fair enough.
That'll get anybody in that society. Those college degrees. Speaking of college degree, we have college educated Willis Lai on the verticals and horizontals.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day.
Do you feel like your college education prepped you to run the verticals and horizontals, or no?
Half and half. Not
Half and
really.
half. Oh, okay.
a lot
Wait.
had to do with just learning hands-on, but college degree, no, you do need it. Yeah.
You know what a college degree didn't prep me for? That is the something I want to point out real quick right here. The Ioneo
Sniff test?
Kun. This is
Hey.
I finally got the Ioneo Kun in. This is a handheld gaming device for the audio listeners, and this thing is pretty. I've got limited time with it, but it's also heavy. Oh boy, I thought the Lenovo Legion Go was heavy at like 2 pounds. This thing's like, I need to officially weigh it, but I think it's like 3 pounds, a little over 3 pounds.
That's
This
a
is
workout right
This
there.
is a workout. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can just do some curls while I'm doing my my handheld gaming.
We need a
well,
montage, a Rocky
while you're-
montage next time.
The Rocky
You-
montage.
this.
Yeah, no, I should have the Lenovo Legion Go in the left hand, and then the Ioneo Kun in the right hand, and then one is going to get bigger than the other. I'll just be offset.
Wait, so is that what they expect you to do while you're waiting for loading screens to finish?
Yeah.
Just some curls.
Why not? Yeah.
One hand this time, the other hand next time.
It's true. And yes, Eric Johnson, this is the one with the touchpad. So the touchpads are kind of weird. By default configuration, the left touchpad is mimicking the D-pad, which is kind of interesting. But also in my limited time playing with it so far, my left thumb pad, like palm, is like accidentally like touching the pad when I'm playing, and so I had to disable it. And then the left touchpad is essentially just a cursor, which is nice. I wouldn't play a game with it anyway, but it is nice to have there if you need to use it as a cursor every once in a while. So anyway, real pretty.
I like the colors on the.
Yeah, I got the
Triggers.
white one, and then it has this gradient from like blue to a green. So really cool. Anyway, more handhelds. We're not here to talk about handhelds. We're here to talk about reviews of discrete PC hardware. First up, and just
That's the opposite of handhelds.
yeah, right. It is the opposite. We have the just launched today, though I'm not seeing anything on Newegg. is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4080 Super. Brad has a review of it on the website right now. Brad, what do you think of the 4080 Super?
Have a review on the website thanks to you running all the numbers, so I appreciate your help, my dude.
Teamwork.
I think it's super, but not because of the improvements made to the graphics card itself. It does have a slight increase in performance compared to an RTX 4080.
So slight.
Like
1
like
to 3%.
Yeah, NVIDIA talking to us said, average of roughly 3%. We saw one game, I forget which one it was. It might have been Call of Duty that went up to 4.5%. But in general, I would say it's like a frame or two difference compared to the default, the vanilla RTX 4080. But the big deal here is the price. The price is $200 cheaper, making it match the same price as the 7900 XTX. So, when it was $200 more, the XTX Radeon 7900 XTX was a no-brainer. But with all the awesome features that NVIDIA has, stuff like that, DLSS, frame gen, reflex, ray reconstruction, video broadcast, NVIDIA Reflex, etc., at the exact same price, I think this is the 4K graphics card you want to get if you're in the market for that.
Yeah, and I'm looking on Newegg right now. Obviously, this is US Newegg, and the cheapest 7900 XTX I'm seeing is $980, but it's a sale. It says the sale ends in 13 hours, so essentially $20 cheaper than the 4080 Super. So I had limited time running the numbers, so I put it up against the 7900 XT, which the numbers, some of them surprised me, to tell you the truth, because just not the XTX but just the XT, like punched above its weight in plenty of times. Like Call of Duty, we're talking about 186 for the XT versus the 175 for the Super. So in pure raster, I mean, there are times where the even cheaper XT version, which I'm going to look on Newegg, looks about $730 on sale right now. I mean, that's pretty good, but then in ray tracing and feature set wise, obviously NVIDIA pulls away. But
yeah, to me, if you don't care about all the extra stuff, if you're not a ray tracing person, if you're not someone who streams stuff, and you can get the XT for $730, I mean, that's a great deal. But if you're looking to buy one of these $1,000 GPUs, it's so much more than just pure rasterization performance. And in that case, I think the RTX 4080 Super heavily tips the scales in its favor with its price cut.
Yeah, it feels like, oh, okay, hey, obviously there's the 4090 at the top that just blows everyone out of the water, and everybody knows about the 4090, but now
here's something you might not know about the 4090. I was actually doing some price research before this, and I feel like a lot of people know this already, but it's ostensibly a $1,600 graphics card. But if you go looking for an actual 4090, they are realistically $2,100 to $2,400 on Newegg and Amazon.
God, still, right, and that's because of the whole stuff with China, right?
Yeah, China and AI in general. So, like, if people can't get those crazy data center cards, they pick up a 4090.
Wow, you can't get one under 2,000. Well, I'm sorry, 1999.
Yeah.
Dang.
So the 4080 Super is realistically the highest end 4K card that most people will be able to buy. Most people will not buy a 2,000 plus graphics card to play games. And so I'm really happy to see it drop another $200 in price. I would have liked it see it drop down another $100, $150 more, in an ideal world, considering that the 3080 launched at $699. But I think those days are behind us. So for what it is, I would take over the 7900 XTX.
Do you side tangent, do you know what exactly about the 4090 is making it so getting gobbled up in China? Is it the VRAM? Is it the it's AI, right? Isn't that the reason? So, and is that because of the VRAM? Like, I feel like, why isn't the 4080 Super or the 4080 getting gobbled up at all either?
Depending on what you're working on, the VRAM is the big part, and just the fact that it's so powerful makes a big difference to how quickly you can process stuff. So again, the VRAM's the big part, but the 4080 is significantly slower than the 4090. And if you're picking this up for work to begin with, it'll be worth the extra $1,000. If you're picking it up to play Alan Wake 2, probably not worth the extra $1,000.
So the 4080 that I put it up against, I actually don't have a Founders vanilla 4080, so I put it up against an Asus ProArt, which is real pretty, and it's actually like the smallest 4080 that I know of. It's actually a really tiny card and fits in. I have it in the Fractal Terra, the small form factor. It's like perfect for like small form factor. But because of that, the shroud is definitely smaller. It is warmer. Like in the temperature test that I ran, the 4080 Super with the default Founders Edition was 61 degrees Celsius, and the Asus ProArt one was 67. So not like super off, but
they're both great.
Definitely
they're both
warmer.
great.
Yeah. But the power draw on the vanilla 4080, I measured up to 289 was the highest peak, but the 4080 Super was 260. So, a nice little keep things in check a little bit.
That's an interesting part about this 4080 Super, because NVIDIA did manage to get that 3% performance uplift without increasing power requirements. And so, as you just talked about, if you just go in there and mildly overclock the chip, you can probably get the 3% difference yourself if you already have a 4080 non-super.
Yeah. But so interesting stuff. I did read some read some reviews, watched some videos. I think most of YouTube is just like meh, cool, but meh. It is what it is, kind of thing. Was the YouTube consensus, which doesn't surprise me, but I feel like generally this kind of continues your trend that you were saying at CES. Is like this is kind of what you was hoping the 40 series would have launched at to begin with.
Yeah. If this was all what they launched at last year, there'd be no need for a super series like this. I find it interesting. This is only the second time they've used the super branding. And both times it was a fairly hard reset of their existing lineups that weren't selling very well. Because the first time was with the 20 series, and those weren't selling very well. Because back then, ray traced games didn't exist. But it's this is where I would hope they would have been to begin with. It's a shame they didn't, because obviously the TIs or super variants we're getting now would be even better. Like perhaps we would see like this version of this 4080 Super uses the full fat 8103 die, which is their second most powerful die. And that's great. But the original 4080 only had 2 SMs disabled. So this is not much of an increase over the original 4080. If this had been what came out originally, there's a chance we could have seen a cut down 8102, the 4090 die that had an even bigger jump. But between the 4090s selling for $2,100+ a piece and the lineup being what it is, I mean, it is what it is. So if you were looking for a top tier 4K card, this is your best option right now, regardless whether or not that sucks. The card doesn't suck. The card kicks ass. The pricing, I would still like to see it come down another $100 or $2. But it's a great graphics card.
Also, the Black Shroud, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit at CES. Freudian slip there.
CES.
The Black Shroud, I mean, this does look like a black hole, like the 4080 does have a light up the GeForce logo here, and then there's a little bit of LEDs here on the Shroud. But other than that, I mean, it is just like black. It is like, yeah.
I loved it. I called it Darth Vader vibes in my review.
Yeah. It's not glossy, right? Oh, careful. Adam just dropped the card.
Don't worry about
lightly.
It. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, Linus.
Yeah, no, it's,
I know, I was about to say.
it's built like a tank. You see it, there you go. It's built like a tank.
Fumble.
He says with panic in his eyes.
Yeah. Whew. Okay.
But it's a matte black, not a glossy black.
I mean, there's a couple different. I'm not even going to hold it up again. There's a couple different textures to it. I will say it is a fingerprint magnet, so that it does have some like chamfered edges that are glossy. It's kind of a mixture of a lot of things, but it definitely takes fingerprints. I was trying to take photos for the website, for the review, and I was like, okay, I actually need to put on some gloves to handle this. Unfortunately, I realized the gloves we have over here are powdered, so it actually made it worse. And I was like, oh crap, we need unpowdered gloves.
Oh my.
But yeah, I ended up just like holding it with paper towels. I didn't drop it. So.
Could you just like rinse the gloves off at the kitchen sink? Get the powder off?
I guess but they're on the inside too. So yeah. So it's just yeah. I don't know why we have the powdered. We should just buy some non-powdered ones. But anyway.
Don't want to be sweaty, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, and it is heavy. I guess I'm used to that Pro Art card, which is relatively light compared to it. This thing was just like, oh wow, it's definitely. I mean, a lot of these top end cards are heavy as hell, but especially comparing it to the 4070 Super, which I have here as well. The 4070 Super just looks like a tiny little baby compared to it, and I'm like, oh no, this is actually what a GPU used to be.
Yeah, it's a standard 2-slot card. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And I was but next to it, it just feels like she's just a cute little baby.
That's part of the reason I actually love the Founders Edition cards. One, I think they look slick as hell, and I like the way they perform. But two, like it's real hard to find standard 2-slot cards these days, and those are some of your only options until you get to 4080, 4090 level.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Cool stuff. Oh, we do have I don't want to forget the super chat from friend of the show, Coffee. If the RTX 4080 Super is priced as it should have been at launch, is the 4080 Super essentially priced like a 14-month-old GPU? So they're saying if they're resetting the price to what it should have been 14 months ago, so it's not realistic for today's pricing, I think is what they're getting to the bottom of.
I get what you're saying, Coffee. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But the fact is that's not what it was priced at 14 months ago. So, I mean, that's the real world. Ideally, we would have liked this price that way 14 months ago. That's not how it worked. So, I mean, I'm just happy to get $200 off for 3% more performance. I'll take that.
Yeah, but it launched today, right? I'm actually not seeing any listings on Newegg unless I'm...
Yeah. If you can't go to the search necessarily on the first day, you have to go find their special banner pages. It takes a while for the search to propagate.
Huh. Yeah, weird. But yeah, so that's it. I mean, that's the whole lineup. I will say I got the 4070 Ti Super in late, so I'm almost done with those numbers, and then I do have the numbers for the 4070 Super, so we are going to have full articles on those, even though it's past embargo, and then I am going to make some videos on these as well. I do have some partner cards in that I might include as well, but Brad, you've been out for the past couple weeks. Before we wrap up the 4080 Super stuff, what are your thoughts on the rest of the lineup, the 70 Ti Super and the 4070 Super?
All right. It's pretty much exactly what I think we called at CES. I think it was pretty straightforward and obvious what to expect from these cards since they're simply refreshes. The 4070 Super, I think, is the star of the bunch. The original 4070 was one of the, aside from the 4090, it was the original 40 series card that we're most okay with. Like, yeah, it's $100 more than we'd like, but it's very power efficient. It's good and everything. And to get 20% performance boost on top of that, great. It makes it much more competitive with the 7800 XT. I wouldn't be surprised if the 7800 XT sees some price drops soon, as well as officially the original 4070 Super is sticking around at $550. If that gets back down to $500, like, that makes it a real tough choice between the 7800 XT and the 4070 Super or 4070 non-Super. Simply because, again, NVIDIA's software stack and feature stack is so impressive compared to AMD that it is worth a bit of price differential. And if they're the same price, you got to kind of weigh that in. The 4070 Ti Super, I haven't had too much chance to read about. I've been traveling the past few weeks. That's part of the reason why Adam's been helping out. Thank you, Adam. So from what I've seen, though, it's about what I expect. You know, it's a minimal performance upgrade. Like I saw around 10%. I think I saw in the reviews that I was watching and reading. Maybe even a little bit less, 8 to 10%, depending on the game. You know, ray tracing is more, but that 10% boost plus the rejiggered memory configuration. It has 16 gigs now and it has a 256-bit bus, just like the 4080 Super. My biggest complaint about the original 4070 Ti, which was my worst reviewed card of last year, I gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars. And that was after going back and forth with my editor, and they made me add another 0.5. That fixes the biggest glaring flaw that I saw with it, because it's an $800 GPU. To me, the fact that the memory subsystem was specifically neutered so that it can't run 4K well, that doesn't sit right with me at 4K. This card does run 4K very well, just as well as the 4080 Super. Obviously, a slower GPU, but 10% faster than it was before. I'm happy with it as a refresh. So, you know, I think the Super lineup fixed the biggest issue with all three of the cards. Again, I would have liked to see the 4080 Super maybe be $50 or $100 less, but $1,000 is, I think, really all you can have really expected out of this. So, all in all, I'm happy. It's going to rejigger the our best graphics card roundup on PC World. It changes the picture of stuff. So I'm curious to see how and if AMD responds.
Well, and now that I've run almost all the numbers, the 4070 Super is definitely the biggest performance jump over the vanilla version, which helps me understand why they're also keeping around the 4070, but not the other two non-super variants. The 4070, as of right now, once again, it's another sale that ends in 12 hours, but I'm actually seeing a vanilla 4070. It's a Zotac twin, so just the two-fan one, kind of small, for $535 on Newegg right now.
Yeah.
So
that's
like,
good.
yeah. So and the 4070 Super was a $600. So, you know, for $70 more, okay, yeah, that's starting to get in the price range of like, if it's $50, I'd say if you can, hit that Super for sure. But yeah, if it's going to get down to like 500, then it's like, oh, okay, I see why that's still in the stack.
At that point, you kind of got to worry or think about, should you get that or 7800 XT? Because part of the reason why this got that big 15 to 20% boost is because the 7800 XT kick button took names.
Oh yeah,
it's faster in a lot of games than a 4070 non-super, and it was $100 cheaper. So once they get kind of back down to the even point, you can say, all right, you know, the 7800 XT is faster in some games, but now they're the same price. Is that worth it compared to DLSS 3 and broadcast and reflex? You could ray tracing. You kind of got to make your own value judgment there.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's $100 difference, it was a big difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my numbers that I have in here too, because so I had 6 NVIDIA cards, obviously with the Super, and then I had 2 AMD ones, so 7900 XT and 7800 XT. And yeah, that 7800 XT gets real damn close to that 4070 Ti sometimes, and I'm just like, oh, wow, dang. So
those are games that they do, like Call of Duty loves AMD cards. So does, I think,
sure,
F1? I forget. But yeah, but you got to also have to think kind of the marketing behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, the 4070 was the one graphics card that was like, all right, this is fine. You know, wish it was a little bit cheaper, but this is fine. This is a good graphics card. Whereas if you go and you Google search right now for 4070 Ti and 4080, it's all like, what the hell is this? This card should be $500 less. And what the hell is this? This has had 2 different product names now, and it should be $500 less or whatever. Whereas now that they fixed it with the Super, once they get the non-Supers off the shelf, if you're looking for what's available, you'll search for these that have the better reviews. So there's a marketing aspect to it too.
Yeah. All right. I mean, not much else to talk about here. Once again, we have the reviews of the other Super parts going up sometime soon, and then, like I said, some videos I'll be cutting so I can show off numbers on video as well. We do have a comment from Jack on YouTube. Says, I really hate people normalizing these price increases in real time. It's not actually a thing. I mean, it is. That's what these are selling for. So these are the prices. I mean, do you see any sort of adjustment, do you think, in the future? Like a lot of people were being like, oh man, 40 series isn't selling well, they're going to have to adjust prices. And the Super is kind of that a little bit, but I mean, I don't think
prices are going down. Not because of crypto, but because of AI. They can sell their top end dies for a lot more money now, and it all gets used for that. So PC gamers just keep getting screwed by how versatile GPUs are.
Yeah.
I did say in my review, I wish this was $100 or more cheaper, but it is what it is. You know, the 3080 launched at $700. Since then, inflation's gone up some insane amount. Even though it's normalized now, the prices of everything has still gone up in the years since. And TSMC charges a lot more for this node. So I can see why the cards are more expensive. I would hope they would think they would be able to get by with a $900 MSRP, but they got to make their money too. I mean, this just is what it is. It's sad. Every time I do a review, I'm going to say I wish this was a little bit cheaper, but you know, wish in one hand and sun in another.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hard part too, is that like there is the part that can be like, wow, this is BS, this really sucks. But also at the same time, this is what it is. So I guess in some ways it could be normalization of the way we're talking about it, but we have to talk about what it is. So, you know, if you're looking to buy a GPU, regardless of whether it's inflated or why it's inflated, anything like that, these are your options. I mean, obviously you can look at older GPUs and put that kind of in the equation as well, but it's just like, okay, well, we have to talk about it in these terms also, because that is the way it is. So
That's true, but I do feel like there is a point to that comment, which is,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think that when, especially, you know, those of us who watch the hardware so closely, there's that whole like the adage, the idiom about the frog in boiling water doesn't notice as the temperature rises kind of thing. So yeah. I do think that there is something to be said for, you know, coming at this saying like, shrug, it sucks out there, but I guess it sucks less. Oh, well, versus, you know, having more of an attitude of like, okay, but like realistically, why is the market this way? Like, when is there going to be any relief for, you know, admittedly proportionately small but very passionate group of people? You know, like, will they ever get a bone thrown to them? And like kind of seeing it from that point of view. So I can see how, like, if you are a PC gamer who's been like just constantly holding out. I was looking at our Discord server and people were talking about the waiting game, right? Where you just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Like, it never feels emotionally good to step off that waiting train right now. Like, there's nothing that really makes you go like, oh yeah, that's the one. Maybe it is a little bit more expensive, but like, that's the one that gets me excited enough to finally stop playing this waiting game. And I don't think, especially with the pandemic, especially with the inflation, I don't think there's anything so far that's allowed people to feel good about it, right? I mean, this is all emotional purchases.
Oh yeah.
We do this not because it's a factual, logical thing for us to do. It's because we love it. We want to play games. We want to play cool, like, games at really great settings and make them look as good as possible.
Well,
right?
I mean, and I hope we're not coming across as like, you know, shrug, well, whatever it is, what it is kind of thing. It's more like when we have to make the value judgments, if somebody is looking at a product, you know, we can't just be like, oh, you know, I wish it was that. And it's like, okay, well, we also need to include, well, this is what it is. So what are you getting for this? And yeah, it's generally nothing, you know, so exciting that it's just like, oh man, this is the deal of the century. You need to jump on this right now. There are better choices than others, and there are reasons to get GPUs. I mean, obviously, people are still buying stuff. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There's nothing necessarily like, oh man, this is, you know, we're going to look back at the 40 series, you know, and all this stuff and think, oh man, we got some real good deals around here. But I also think in the future, are we ever going to have that again? I don't know if we're ever going to have that again. Maybe that's just me being like, negative, but
I mean,
do you think we'll ever get another 1080 Ti, you know, or like 1080, you know, right? Like,
yeah, I like how you're bringing that up when Gordon's not here.
I summoned him. Maybe he'll show up in the chat.
Right. I think that we could sit here and with the current, you know, outlook or like the current most recent history, that would be a fair thing to wonder, right? But I also think we didn't see the pandemic coming. Like we didn't see we could kind of guess at the inflation, but just maybe not how bad it really got. It's possible that things could change again. Like we just never know what's going to come down the pipeline. Like maybe I'm being an optimist, but I like to hope this is not just the future forever.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, this my computer was fried in a fire anyway, or baked, I guess, in a fryer. But I had a 3080 Ti in it, and I've been upgrading top-end NVIDIA cards for years. This is the first generation I was going to skip. And because the 4080 came out costing $1,200, and it was just barely ahead of a 3080 Ti. So, yes, it has 16 gigabytes memory. Now, the 4080 Super is another 3% faster. It's still just barely ahead of a 3080 Ti that cost $1,200 3 years ago. So I feel like, I'm hoping next generation things change a bit. But this just drives home what I always try to tell people. Try to wait 2 to 3 generations before upgrading if you can. If you're an enthusiast like me, like I run a PC magazine and I test graphics cards for a living. So I've been swapping out the high-end stuff so I can try all the new highest features. But before that, I waited at least 2 or 3 generations at a time because, the 3080 last year, let's say you upgraded that. This time around, the 4070 Ti is $100 more and just slightly faster. There's no reason to upgrade to that unless you want DLSS 3. But if you wait another generation, the 5070 Ti, or another generation after that, the 6070 Ti, then you can target a price point and say, hey, I'm going to spend $700, and what I can get for $700 is good. And if you wait 2 or 3 generations, you'll tangibly feel that difference. It's when you try to upgrade every generation that it starts to hurt sometimes when you get these weird generations.
Yeah. Definitely weird times. Yeah. I don't know what else to say on the the GPU front though.
The 4080 Super, it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, yay!
Actually, when I was looking at the other reviews, it just generally seemed to be the consensus. Everyone was like, it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that much more, but it's cheaper.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, yeah. Like I said, more information to come before we go on to the next one. I do want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Falcon Northwest. I've been, like I said in the pre-show, I've been gently stroking this frag box, which is kind of one of 3 desktop offerings that they have. Fragbox is kind of their middle end. They've got the full tower of a Talon, and then a real nice micro tower, I think is what they call it. It's like small form factor, like nice little thin tower, and this one is able to
Tiki.
fit. Yeah, Tiki. I'm sorry. Yeah. Talon's at the top, Tiki's at the bottom. Frag is in the middle. It's got a handle. It's got the 4090 in there. Full. Full ATX motherboard in there. But really, it's the care that this was assembled with.
It's not full TX. I think it's micro ATX.
Is it micro? Oh, I thought it was full.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. No. Yeah, you're right. Oh, sorry. Anyway, really,
Adam was
really,
too busy lovingly petting it to notice.
Also, I mean, they do make their own cases. These, like the actual textured finish on this case is really nice. It's got a good grip to it. So, I mean, they design their own cases. And it's definitely one of those things that they put a lot of love into, and it feels like a tank. Obviously, a lot of people who use Falcon devices, I mean, the reason why they have a handle on this one is because a lot of people do take it into the field, and it's kind of built with that in mind. Not only that, but also their warranty service, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, thank you for supporting us, Falcon. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
The reason I knew it was a micro ATX is because I actually reviewed one of these, totally unrelated to the sponsorship bit. 2/3, 3/4 of the way through last year, and it's the single best desktop I've ever tested. It's freaking amazing. Every part of it. If you look for Falcon Northwest Frag box review on PCWorld.com, you'll see my personal review of it, which had nothing to do with the sponsorship, just my unbiased review of it. It rocks. So, After correcting you, I feel like I got to throw that out there.
Yeah, thank you for the correction. Thank
Check
you.
it out. They're
Yeah.
great. They're great. They're awesome. So, and that's my. I had no part of this ad read. That's me just jumping in with my editorial personal opinion. These things rock. So,
Well, and I have heard on the behind the scenes, a lot of people have told me, like at trade shows and stuff, they're like, hey, you know what? I used to be DIY and always built and followed all the stuff, but now I lean on, a trusted vendor like Falcon Northwest to build my systems, because I still want the high end desktop stuff. But they don't have to worry about assembling themselves, and with Falcon Northwest, they're going to assemble it right. It comes with a checklist. Like it even says the person's name who went through and assembled everything and like did all the testing, and they give you like a sheet with the numbers.
yeah, like the RAM timings, the latencies, like everything.
Yeah.
The
So
BIOS version.
yeah, I definitely think in the future when I'm definitely like so over building my own PCs, I'm definitely gonna start buying
Will
some.
you ever be so over building your own PC?
I don't know. I mean, right now it's like, I feel like I build like one every couple weeks, for whatever various projects. But I'm sure I will. So anyway, thank you, Falcon Northwest,
Thank
for
you.
sponsoring the show. Always appreciated. But I'll tell you something that's probably not going to show up in a Falcon Northwest, because they focus on high performance, and that is AM5. The first AM5 APUs have launched. This was Monday. The embargo lifted. I think you can get them on the website now. I guess I should double check. But we've got the 8700G in I think it's this box right here. The AMD Ryzen 7 8700G and the Ryzen 5. What is this one? The 8600G.
86.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have started testing the 8700G, but the super cards were kind of taking up my mental capacity. So I haven't
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, I haven't got a ton of time testing. I am going to do a video on these as well, because I'm kind of approaching it from an interesting angle. Or I think it's an interesting angle, saying like, hey, I mean, these are socketable desktop parts, which is awesome. It's a refresh, or not a refresh, but the first APUs we've seen in many years, right? We've been talking about like, man, when are we going to see new APUs? It's RDNA 3. It has the Ryzen AI. These are the first desktop parts, socketable desktop parts with an NPU in them. So lots of interesting stuff to kind of go over here. For me, the first question I had was, okay, the GPU that's in these, or at least in the 7, is the Radeon 780M, and we've seen that before. Obviously in the laptop space, Ryzen 7000 in the mobile space at the top end has the 780M, and then even the Z1 Extreme is kind of based off that same architecture. So some of my testing is around like, oh, okay, how do these actually compare to the 780M in mobile devices, even handheld gaming devices? Because it's not just that. It's also pairing it with new AM5
Motherboard,
motherboards, DDR5. I will say in the limited testing that I've done, just because I've poked around here and there as I was waiting for other benchmarks to run, you definitely want the fastest RAM that you can get. Like I was definitely seeing like switching from 5600 megatransfers per second to 6400 megatransfers per second was like enough for like 10 frames, to get you from like 1080p medium at 50 frames per second to up to 60. Like it was definitely like a healthy jump. So like they've told us as such, and we kind of knew that even with the AM4 based APUs. So yeah, more testing to be done. I think it's interesting. I did watch a lot of the reviews, and read articles, and it seems like people are excited about it. Elena, as somebody who is always championed for APUs, have you had a chance to dig into reviews of these parts?
A little bit. So it's funny because when you were talking about how just doing the introduction to this topic, you were saying like, oh, they finally released, and I literally heard the Halo Grunt birthday party sound like go off in my head, like hooray! Because it's exciting to get new APUs finally. That said, I was really disappointed by the 8700G. I went into it, reading a few different articles, and at first I was like, okay, like, well, let's see, are people just a little jaded, and like maybe too used to high-end hardware that they can't put this into perspective? And I dug into a little bit more, and I was like, no, they've got a point, which is, at $330, you could get much better gaming performance by buying a pretty cheap CPU, like an i3 equivalent, and then I don't know, like a $250 GPU, and you'd get way better gaming performance out of it. So then it's like asking yourself, okay, well, what applications, like what use cases would you have for this? And it's like, okay, well, if I wanted a living room box, would I really be putting a $330 CPU into that? And so it's just awkward, kind of the space that's occupying. So I wonder if it's maybe designed, because obviously we have a very US centric view. And I'm wondering if it's designed for like markets where it is just really expensive to get even like, Core i3, I don't know, even 12100F or something, that's something that we think of as cheap. It's the same for like I don't know, an RX 6500, RX 6600. So maybe it's designed for places like that, and that's why we can't really see its value. But it is priced $330 here, and we're evaluating it on that price, right? Because price is such a big deal for the perceived value of something. So on that note, 8700G supposed to be the flagship chip of this lineup of APUs. I found that kind of disappointing. I think the one that did kind of get overlooked in all the reviews is the 8600G. So the Ryzen 5 part, where it's like, okay, like this I can see a little bit more. The performance does back down a little bit. You are losing, I forget off the top of my head exactly how much, maybe like 10%, depending on the game.
It's because it has the 760M rather than the 780M.
Yeah, so you do lose performance dropping down. It's not like they're really tight. But I think that even trading that level of performance, because I was looking I'm like, okay, what kind of box would I put this in? Like, as Brad has said numerous times before, like APU, like really easy way to get, somebody into a game like Fortnite, or in my case, like Overwatch, where they're not really designed to hammer the hardware because they want everyone to play, even people on potatoes. So like you put that in a box with some RAM, obviously the rest of the PC, like, not too bad, actually. I think like what you could get, and they're playing, a lot of their settings were like 1080p low, which I'm like, okay, like for some of these titles you probably could tinker a little bit. You could probably run it at 720 maybe, or move this around, move that around, see if you can get the textures to be kind of fudge that here and there. And it's like, yeah, like honestly, sometimes in some of these games, having lower graphical settings is an advantage, because suddenly you can see people hiding in random spots
Right.
because other people can't see them in the bushes, and you're like, yo, dude, I got nothing there.
Yeah.
You are sitting duck.
Yeah, especially in something like Fortnite. I had switched to the performance mode, which takes out like almost all shadowing. I was just like, oh,
Right?
you can just see everything in the distance.
Yeah, it's really
There's
funny,
no hiding.
actually.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're competitive, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, so my take is that I'm looking forward, because a lot of these outlets, including you, right? Like they haven't had a chance to like really get to the rest of the lineup of the chip. So like a lot of the reviews focus on the 700G. I'm really looking forward to getting more detailed numbers and attention on the 8600G, because I think to me, that's the one that I've got my eye on. That's the one that, as my friends ask me for recommendations, or, as I always look forward to, as we get closer to the holiday period and sales might appear, like that's the one I have my eye on. That's
and I
what I
think
want to know more about.
well, I think it was over on Discord. Let me find it. I feel like we had a question. Oh, here we go. Yeah, from friend of the show Ivan R. Had asked, after chip shortage crisis, is there really a market for discrete APUs? Not talking about handhelds. In other words, can you picture who is a typical APU buyer? Do we know? What do we think a typical APU buyer is? I guess maybe we should preface by
Like
US.
consumer?
Yeah. Like
Consumer or business?
Oh, well, if you think the typical buyer would be a business.
I think there would be a decent number of like pre-builts and I mean, a decent number of pre-builts, period, but a decent number of those pre-builts would get used in like maybe a business setting where like normal integrated graphics aren't quite enough, but they don't really see a need for discrete graphics, either because of, I don't know, logistical deployment issues or servicing needs, or if they can get a volume discount. I don't know. I'm not familiar with how the business side, enterprise side of things work. For consumers, I would think more like living room box starter PC type situations.
Yeah.
Or esports, affordable
Mhm.
esports, like you were saying. Like I would totally build my 13-year-old daughter a PC around this. And then if she likes it, then I would go back later and slap a graphics card in it. I think this starter PC is a perfect example. I think there's, a lot of value, like a NUC-sized box. NUCs are really Intel-based, but, Zotac and Minisform and stuff does their own. Slap one of these in there, and it's, that big on your desk. That'd be pretty rad. But all in all, I pretty much agree with what you said, Elena. I think I would rather I was doing price lookups this morning, planning on coming into this. I think the 8600G is probably the one I'm more excited about. If I was going to spend $300, $350, like you can get, I was looking around this morning, a 1650 or a 6500 XT, both of which are bottom end when it comes to discrete GPUs, but more powerful than this. I found models on sale of each for $140. And you can also get the 12100F, so 2 generations back for Intel for $98. But that also supports resizable bar. So that's, $240 for that combo right there. And if you want to step it up and add a 6600 or an ARC 750, that brings you to about the cost of the 8750 or 8700G. So I agree with everything you had said there.
Yeah.
But I still like these for what they are. I think it should be celebrated. That these are by far the most powerful integrated graphics we've ever seen. And I really like the idea of chips starting to have gaming worthy graphics baked right into them right out of the box.
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously the other part of it is upgradability, though, because at the end of the day, if you got the 12400F and a discrete GPU, and then you were like, oh, okay, you know what, I want to step up that GPU, you still have a 12400F, where here you do have a better CPU cores. I am actually, part of my testing suite is to test other CPU related tasks. I mean, you're not going to do heavy V-Ray work on it. I am doing V-Ray work 2C, but Premiere Pro, just like all these other like CPU related tasks, because at the end of the day, I'm going to put it up against the 7700X, and I'm curious to see what kind of delta you're going to see like on the actual core performance. So that's what I was actually going to mention too, which is like I would also say that the main advantage of going this route is that you do get what I assume is just going to be stronger performance on the CPU. So like maybe you're not like so into gaming that you need the absolute best graphics or even okay graphics, right? But maybe every now and then you want to encode a video, or maybe you have some other things that are going to hit your CPU more, that's more important to you. And as was just pointed out, when you pair it with a discrete GPU, then you're not as potentially CPU limited, right? When you make that upgrade. One point that got brought up in chat, let me see, where is it? Henry Hansen mentioned that also discrete graphics are going to use more power. So if you live, that's also a point that I forgot to mention, which is if you live in a place where electricity is expensive or it just gets hot as heck, and you're trying to keep, the ambient temperatures from rising too much because, your box is, pouring out that heat, then that's also an option where it's like save a little money on the electricity and like overall heating costs or cooling costs in your house rather. Yeah, because at the end of the day, these are 65 watt parts, which we've seen, great efficiency out of AM5 based. And I do have a number for the max GPU temperature, and I'm using the stock cooler on the 8700, or I'm going to use it for both of them. This one comes with the Wraith not the stealth, it's the taller built-in cooler. And in Call of Duty, doing the measurement check there, I got like 78 degrees Celsius. So, like, I mean, yeah,
Nice.
this thing isn't dumping a ton of heat.
Yeah, even
So-
with all the GPU dies on it. The other part, two other parts I think are worth considering. Again, what you're talking about, the power efficiency really gets to, I think it'd be rad as hell to have a NUC style box sitting there with Steam Deck style graphics. That's basically what you can expect out of this.
Right.
We'll have to wait and see for Adam's video to know for sure, but roughly. So I think that's rad. But two, the other part that makes me lean more towards like a 12100F and whatever low end graphics card of your choice, beyond simple performance, is total platform cost. Because I think that's something you kind of have to take into account with this. Because AM5 motherboards are pretty much the most expensive motherboards on the market still, aside from the very, very brand new Z790 refreshes. And DDR5 has come down a lot, but it's still not anywhere near as cheap as DDR4. So if you're getting into this looking
Yeah.
for an affordable gaming PC and you're comfortable having, a mini ITX box or a smaller mid tower and are comfortable putting together a PC, I think you'd get more value out of a low-end discrete box. But I'm really excited about these parts. I'm really excited that you can get 1080p gaming graphics, even at lower medium, in a
Yeah.
NUC boxed. So
Yeah, and spoilers. So one of the other things I'm comparing it to, I got a 7840 HS, a little Beelink SER7 mini PC. So it's real nice little box, but it's got that the same 780M. Obviously, it's a mobile versus socketable desktop. So I do wonder. I have run some tests to be like, oh, okay, how far off is it? Because that's kind of what you're expecting, is a nice little set-top box kind of thing, which theoretically could be upgraded or expanded depending on, whatever setup. Like, I really do think it's the expandability that is, going to be the kind of thing here that maybe you're willing to pay a little bit more up front for, knowing that later you can expand it further, better.
Yeah. I mean, that was a strategy we recommended during those really terrible years during the pandemic. It was either that or GeForce Now. Like, I think those are the two
Oh,
most
no. Said
popular
it.
or most common
Drink.
solutions we gave.
I'm real curious to see what the future of the APU looks like, because just spiraling out from this a little bit, I've talked about on here before, I wouldn't be surprised if someday, like, NVIDIA doesn't even make sub $300 graphics cards anymore. Like, they might have a couple of MX parts for basic display and encoding functions, but graphics cards I'm talking. ARC and AMD are still playing down in that space, but these integrated GPUs are getting a lot better. I could see being a generation or two out from being able to play 1080p medium-ish graphics, which you can already do on a lot of games with this if they're a couple of years old. And I also think back to that conversation you and I had with Tom Peterson at CES, Adam, where he was talking about that now that Meteor Lake is out and, that hybrid architecture is going to be going all over the place. Like, this is the first time they could get really good integrated graphics too. Like, they had Broadwell, whatever it was back in the day, not Broadwell, but Haswell.
KB Lake G.
The KB Lake G. There was another one before that was supposed to be mobile only, but they made it desktop for some reason. Gordon did review it. Maximum PC was great. Crystal something, I forget. But anyway, now if that Meteor Lake architecture comes to the desktop,
Crystal Well. Ian said Crystal Well.
That's it.
Yep.
Thank you, Ian. That one was pretty badass. But the Core Ultra laptop, the Meteor Lake architecture, hybrid style architecture comes to the desktop. They already have more improved ARC graphics in there compared to what used to be. And when we were talking with Tom at CES, Tom Peterson, Intel fellow, he was talking about how, the cool thing about this architecture is you can mix and match. Like, you can just like plug and play. Imagine if we stuck a whole bunch of graphics chips on here, kind of a deal. So I'm really interested to see where the future of the APU goes. Yeah. Like, I see them getting more powerful. I wouldn't be surprised if someday they get rid of discrete graphics.
Yep. I also think that it should be noted that the prices have come down a little bit, at least for the the 57G to 8700G. If I looked it up correctly, I think the 5700G, the MSRP launch price was $20 or $30 higher than what we're seeing for the 8700G. So even though the price is higher than we'd like to see, it does seem like they're getting that cost down. So it kind of going hand in hand with Brad just said. Like I'm wondering if they start really focusing on this more, if they decide like that's where they want to put their energy for lower end graphics, so to speak, that increased attention could end up driving prices down further, so that they do seem more palatable as an option.
Yeah. Last thing to note here too, and somebody had asked earlier, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, hey, did these have an NPU in it? And yes, these are the, like I said earlier, these are the first socketable desktop parts with an NPU built in it. Now, I'm still kind of in the process of, I think we've all had discussions about like, how to actually benchmark NPUs, and those are kind of still ongoing. Even Gordon, has his own thoughts too. We've talked about it for a while because we knew this kind of stuff was coming. So I don't have any specific tests I was planning on running right now, just because I'm not quite sure what to hit on it. But I mean, it is a thing, and if you already know that that there's something that you do that can take advantage of an NPU, then yeah, I mean that's great.
Those are very rare at this point, especially in the consumer space. But the fact that it's there, if you think AI is going to take off, like it seems like the industry and the hardware companies are pushing for it to, it might be worth investing in.
Yeah.
Just to know that you have it in some way, even if we can't benchmark it well now. It was like if you had bought the 20 series, you could still play DLSS.
Well, and I do think a lot of the mobile story around NPU still applies for here, because we've been talking about like small little set-top box things. So if you're talking about use of efficiency where an NPU is kind of best at, you're still talking about using it efficiently like that. For other tasks, a GPU or a CPU might be better for pure just grunt work.
Yeah.
So
I was actually surprised that they included it, honestly, because I feel like for a socketed CPU, you're not really going to be, from what I've seen, at least on the laptop side, a lot of the AI type applications are for, like, as you said, like optimization, efficiency. And so like, especially in like battery life and that kind of performance. And I feel like with a socketed desktop CPU, like you're not really thinking about that as much. Like, I think it would be great to see these in something like a 4x4-inch NUC type form factor, but it's not really common. Like most of those, like as far as I know, all of the models that have come out that I've kept tabs on were like the more like laptop soldered,
it's a Wednesday,
chip. I'm hungry. I'm so hungry right now. It's not even funny. Like when I'm not listening to the conversation, like my brain's just like, food.
You should go grab some food. Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised that they included it. I'm kind of interested to see like maybe something they're aware of that we're not yet, that's going to come down to the pipeline that will make use of it. But for me right now, knowing what I know as a consumer, I don't think I would be buying these chips for that personally.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's in the architecture, so I think it was just easy to kind of include it. I did ask AMD for an official comment on this NPU on laptop versus desktop. I think I read this before. I'll say it again. They quote, on laptop, I'm sorry, let me start here. Quote, efficiency, the NPU can run AI workloads faster and with less significant power. On laptop, this can translate into better battery life. On desktop, where power is less of a concern, it still allows the users to free up CPU and GPU resources when multitasking. It can also prevent a CPU GPU from having to ramp up with the accompanying fan noise that may be associated, end quote. So, I mean, it's a little less strong of a story, and obviously it's still early days on what that means for desktop on Intel and AMD side, because I mean one of the videos that we did at CES, or Mark had a video about an add-in AI accelerator card. Is that even better than what an NPU can do on the CPU itself? So yeah, still early days. I mean I think there is a reason to have it. I'm glad it is there. And somebody pointed out in the chat. I'm sorry. It's kind of the NPU is there really as to be like, hey devs, here it is, start messing with it.
Yeah.
This is like a Gen 1 kind of thing. So
And on top of that, even though a lot of people associate NPUs with Intel, AMD had the first NPU in a laptop, and now it has the first NPU in a desktop too. So even if nothing else, I would assume that's going to be a huge marketing win if AI takes off like they're hoping it would.
Yeah. And I don't have the chip on hand, but the two lower end, because there was 4 AM5 based CPUs. We're talking about the 8700G and the 8600G, but lower down the stack, the 8500G and the 8300G are the first desktop CPUs to have Zen 4 C cores. Wendell has a good video. He was able to get his hands on, I think, the 8500G. AMD said the 8300G is not going to be sold to the DIY market, so really it's just the 8500G. But yeah, so those are the first Zen 4 C cores that we're seeing on the desktop, which is interesting. So maybe that's something that will be kind of implemented more in the future as well. There's plenty of rumors about whatever Ryzen 9000 is going to be kind of stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think SatNav over in YouTube chat says it best, where like first gen NPU is feeling a bit like first gen ray tracing, where it's like, it's good that it's in there. It's good that they're pushing it, but it's more like laying that foundation. And as we said at that time about ray tracing, Brad in particular, not Gordon, which is like, it's great that they're doing it, but that's not what you're buying on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Ryzen 8000 APUs, they're here. I guess the other thing to note, I did ask for official comment. Wait, why is this Ryzen 8000 and not Ryzen 7000 like the other desktop parts that have been out? Oh crap! I need to bring up the official wordage from. Oh no, I think I lost it.
While you're doing that, I'll insert a note so you can
please
keep looking. So just for anyone who's curious about these parts, so my understanding is that the reviews went up, and I think the listings went up for it as well, but they don't actually ship until February. So like, for example, I'm looking at the B&H website, and it's basically listed as a pre-order and says new item coming soon, expect availability February 5th, 2024. So unlike the 4080 Super, that you don't have to do a mad rush to your computer if you want one of these. Seems like you'll just be able to kind of put in your order and see if wait for it to ship to you.
Newegg says I can get an 8700G tomorrow.
Oh, really? Yeah, interesting.
Or fastest delivery.
Interesting. I misspoke then.
Okay, so I found the quote. What I asked was, why are these designated as Ryzen 8000 versus 7000? Does this signal a change in the desktop processor naming scheme to follow the mobile naming scheme? Because as we kind of know, with the decoder wheel, the mobile naming scheme is different than the desktop naming scheme. So I was asking, are we going to see a change there? And the reply back from AMD is, quote, on desktop, we don't have a specific nomenclature framework like we do on mobile. We tend to stick to the same tiers of models, and we tend to introduce a new model series, like 7000, 8000, when we think a product justifies it, end quote. So I was going to follow. I actually didn't follow up. I was going to ask, like, okay, well, how do you know when something justifies it? Like, I don't know if an APU for me would cross that line, but maybe it's just the new car smell. Maybe it looks bad to say, oh, we got Ryzen 7000 APUs in 2024, so just call them 8000. That new car smell.
I don't know if it's because I'm hungry or not, but when you said all that, my brain translated that too as because we wanted to.
Yeah. Because Lisa was sitting down. This is not official. Lisa was sitting down in her chair and she said, "No, 8000. Make that one 8000." They're like, "What? Why?" And they're like,
"Eight's a good luck number."
Yeah.
Oh, is Chinese it? For Chinese,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
For Lunar New Year coming up, yeah.
There you go. Ziv says maybe because of the presence of NPU. Yep. Anyway, okay. Anything else on APUs?
No, not the APUs, but somebody did ask, I think either in Discord or in chat, if we're going to talk about the 5700X3D. I think launched today.
Yeah, the AMD is not providing samples, so if I'm going to do any sort of testing, I need to just purchase one. I have been so bogged down by all this other stuff that, yeah. So
Thank you, Adam.
yeah, maybe later. I am curious as well to see. We kind of talked about it a little bit between like, 5600 X3D was Micro Center only. I did ask AMD, does this mean like, hey, you saw the success that the 5700G, or I'm sorry, the 5600G saw, but you wanted to have something more, a wider release? They said no, it's because it's 8 core. It's, essentially maybe other 5800 X3Ds that weren't able to hit. So it doesn't sound like the 5600G is going to get a wide release either.
Wait, 5600 X3D?
X3D, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
So many
It's been a
names and
long
numbers.
day.
But the 5700 X3D is not Micro Center only. That one is actually
Going to be more widely available.
yeah, actually, let me see.
They said that during your interview, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes. Oh no, yeah, I can get it tomorrow. Fastest delivery on Newegg. It's 250 5700 X3D. Man,
Yeah,
what a
that's also a good price.
yeah. No, I'm curious. Yeah, I'm very curious. It's still cool to be able to get in that because I think what was it? The cheapest we ever saw 5800 X3D was 300.
Around three, I
Right.
think it was like 290.
Yeah, and right now on Newegg, it's not the cheapest, but 315. So for like, I do wonder how much performance you're losing. Oh wow,
Yeah.
Actually the 5800 X3D right now on Newegg, US Newegg, comes with a free B450 motherboard. So-
Okay.
Oh, okay. That actually, that's a better deal. honestly.
Wow, let me see what motherboard this is. Sorry, we're doing this live. I'm just curious.
No, I love this. I am very here for real time deal finding.
Watch it be a motherboard that hasn't even had its BIOS updated to support it.
Okay. It's a ASRock B450M/AC R2.0.
Okay, I think that's one of the ones I used in my Black Friday build. So that one's usually goes for about like 80, I want to say 70 to 80.
90
street
is
price.
what it's on right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, essentially you're saying, hey, free $90 motherboard. It's Micro ATX, your favorite. So yeah.
Yeah, you can use one of the cases that I'm
Interesting.
obsessing over right now.
That is a pretty good deal. Free $90 motherboard. So yeah. Oh man.
I mean, you're just
AM4,
Wow.
like I if Gordon was in the chat or if Gordon were here, I'm sure he'd be like, "No, why would you buy the old thing?" And I'm like, "Cause that's a pretty good deal."
that's an exceptionally good
Yeah.
deal.
So anyway,
Because you could, I mean, honestly, so we were just talking about the cost of what 8700G being 330, right? And then saying that you get like a CPU and GPU for the same price that would do better in games, right? But this actually kind of works out to the same because instead you're just getting the motherboard and then you'd buy the GPU separately. So this is actually even a better deal than what was talked about in those reviews.
yeah.
You have options
PC
for
building
budget
is
builds now.
wild. PC building is just so wild right now. Like when Ryzen launched, we could have never imagined a world like this.
Right. Yeah. And I do think people are still waiting for like the Ryzen moment for GPUs, right?
Yeah.
Something to
yeah,
like completely reset and be like, hey, you know what you used to get?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Throw that out the window. You're getting,
We've been hoping.
yeah. So
We've been hoping.
anyway, okay. We should move on before it gets too late to viewer Q&A. We got to get through this because Elena is hungry. If you got your questions now at
Hangry.
PC World, hangry, yeah. You don't want to see
Not
Elena
yet.
hangry.
You really don't, no.
Yeah, get in the chat at PC World, the easiest way for me to see it. And if you're watching or listening to this later, there's a link to our Discord in the description. Go over there. We have a channel specifically for questions that hopefully we will get to on the next show. Let's see. I'm going to pull. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I have some super chats that I need to get to. The first one is from Skeet Sayer, friend of the show. Skeet Sayer gave us $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. No question, just comment. People are not appreciating the effect that AMD's fluid motion frames will have, especially with how much the budget market is going with handhelds. I haven't had a chance to look at the AFMF. Brad, have you had a chance to dig into that at all?
I haven't had any chance to look into it yet, but I've had a crazy month, y'all. But I'm really curious to see how it goes. One of the benefits of DLSS 3 is they can mandate that reflex goes with it. Fluid motion frames is basically FSR 3 everywhere, which in and of itself is exciting. You have to remember they insert those AI frames, so that increases latency. I know this now. Latency.
Yeah, somebody earlier was like, what did you just say?
Data.
So and games don't have to have something like Radeon anti-lag in them to work with this. And AMD itself has said, ideally, you want games to be running 60 plus frames per second to minimize that increased latency feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do want to play around with it a bit. I think it's not as cut and dry awesome as you think it might be. I think it's going to depend game to game.
Yeah.
Very much so, and genre to genre. But I think it's dope as hell that you can get something like that at the driver level now. And I'm all for being able to flip it on and potentially deal with some jank or slightly lower reflexes in a couple of games. If it means in other games, I get twice as much performance. But this, as opposed to DLSS needed some hands-on time to really quantify it, this really needs hands-on time to try to quantify it.
Yeah, real quick, friend of the show, Ziv, says that's proof that Brad is AI. He pronounced it latency. Somebody needs to update his model. Actually, some of the best testing, I listened to the Digital Foundry podcast. What is it called? I can't remember what they call it, but DF Direct. That's what it is. And they have done some testing with the AFMF. And yeah, it's the same kind of thing that applies with the upscaling, that you need a certain amount of frames already there. It's not like you can take something that was running at 20 frames per second and be like, oh sweet, now I get an awesome 60. You still want a good base of frames to there so it can do it on top of it. But yeah, this is at the driver level. Also AMD, I forgot to say this in the APU spot, but this is a good space to say it too, that AFMF is updating on the driver for the new APUs. So you'll be able to get that there because it's just a driver level thing. Imagine frame generation, but at the driver level, which kind of like, what's the driver? Because it's not FSR, it's RSR. That's the driver level
Radeon
upscaling, right? Yeah. So it's at the driver level, so it's not game dependent, which means yes, there are quirks. It's happening. It's not reading, all the actual output of the game itself because it's not built into that pipeline. It is kind of taking what's being presented on the screen and trying to add to it. But I'm curious. I'm definitely curious. I haven't messed with it. I've seen it pop up in one of the handhelds that I updated recently. Maybe the Kun. I can't remember. But yeah.
I tell you what, it's something I would like to play around with more before I talk definitively about it. But if you were buying an as cheap as possible PC just to play some PC games on, et cetera, you don't mind low graphics? Like, can you imagine getting to roughly 40-60 frames per second with the 8700G, flipping on Radeon Super Resolution, which will definitely reduce image quality, but if you're just looking for playable experiences, who cares? And then flipping on fluid motion frames on top of that, it might be able to fly even on those little APUs, actually.
Yeah.
Those are pretty impressive grouping of driver level things there.
I'm curious. Yep. So that's that. And we got a $4.99 super chat from Clay _ What would make you switch to Battle Mage? If those raster requirements are met, would you guarantee to bypass NVIDIA's next release? I guess we'll start off by saying we don't know anything about Battle Mage. Tom, when we did the interview at CES, he was excited, but he's like, you know what? We're not going to talk about it yet. I didn't,
we do know something.
Yeah.
He also said that most of their hardware engineers are done with Battle Mage and moving on to Celestial so far.
Yep. They have the first units in, and the software people are tinkering with it. So we don't know, right? I mean, there's obviously plenty of rumors going around of what it's going to be, what the performance is going to be like. Is it laptop only? Is it discrete? So we don't know. But the question is, what would make you switch to Battle Mage? Like what do you think is the like, oh wow, Battle Mage came out of this, then cool. Okay, I'll switch to it and bypass NVIDIA's next release, whatever, assuming it's the 50 series.
I tend to hang out on the high end, and I doubt that Intel will compete up there. But let's say that I was buying something, $300 and under, $500 and under, something like that. What I would need from Intel in order to bypass NVIDIA and AMD is some mixture of competitive, if not better performance, competitive, if not outright beating pricing. And I would like them to maintain, they started with a real strong foot forward in ray tracing. And I would like them to keep that going. Because if they can say, hey, we're just as fast as the AMD and NVIDIA GPUs, we're $50 cheaper than the Radeon equivalent, and we have better ray tracing. Sure, XeSS is just getting off the ground. AMD has all these driver level things. But the core of what you're doing, we're giving it to you. It's competitive and it's cheaper. I think that's what it would take to convince people to switch to a new third entrant.
Liquidar says, and it comes with a kitten. There we go. I switched.
Smile at
Done. Yeah. No, that's all it takes. It comes with a free kitten.
Adam will buy them all.
Yeah. I mean, if you think back to the Arc launch, right? The hardware, I mean, those cards are still nice cards. It was the software, right? And I feel like they have definitely done their due diligence. They're continuing to work on that software. Whatever you feel like is happening on the, discrete side, and how the hardware is panning out, they are working on the software. I mean, like we keep getting emails from Intel PR being like, oh hey, by the way, we updated X to X driver, and look at these gains we saw in these games. I mean, they're doing their work on the driver level. So however the GPUs come in and wherever they fall, performance or cost wise, that's one thing. But the driver thing is seems to be they're doing a lot of work on it, but not just for laptop. I mean, we're also talking about the integrated GPU performance on Meteor Lake. I haven't had a chance to mess around with Meteor Lake. I do have a couple Meteor Lake devices that I can. One of these days I'll get around to messing around with that because I am curious. And obviously the upcoming MSI Claw is the first handheld with Meteor Lake in it, so I'm very excited to try that. But yeah, I don't remember what I was just kind of ranting there for a minute.
Software. They need better software.
Yeah, software. Yeah. So assuming the software is there, which I feel like once again they're doing a lot of work and they've showed that they have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is the same thing with AMD versus NVIDIA, right? Like there are plenty of ways you can look at the AMD card price for price, and you're like, wow, this thing is way better at raster than NVIDIA, but people continue to still buy NVIDIA. So if AMD is having a hard time getting over that hump, like really you're not talking about Intel getting over the NVIDIA hump, you're talking about Intel getting over the AMD hump. I feel like that's kind of where the fight is. So yeah, I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Like, unless it's something crazy like a free kitten, then yeah, I don't know what it would take. Because even if it was like double the performance for the same price, or double the raster performance or something, I don't know. Like, is that even enough? Like, would people then just all of a sudden stop buying NVIDIA cards and stop buying AMD cards? Like, I don't know.
No, but if they managed to pull off something like that, it would make waves and spur adoption.
It would. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it was interesting hearing this question. And again, I don't know if my low blood sugar is just making it impossible to understand things properly. But I don't know. I don't feel like it has to be anything flashy. Like I think it's just as Brad said. It's like it has to just be competitive. Right. So like the performance has to be competitive. Something you want to see that they're within the similar margin as the other cards. But also to your point, Adam, you want to see that stability that wasn't there for the first generation. Because while the enthusiasts, I think, are willing to put up with the growing pains of the new architecture, that's not something that could be as easily recommended to somebody who's maybe newer to PC building or just wants a kind of hassle-free plug and play type experience. And then of course price has to be reasonable, again, competitive. So I honestly, to me, my answer, my first thought as an answer was just, well, it just has to be like the others, in the sense of like, doesn't necessarily stand out in a bad way, right? Like that it meets kind of minimum expectations. I think the additional add-on to that is that they really need for it to be rock solid when they launch. That's going to be really terrible for them if they don't follow up that the growing pains of the first generation with saying like, okay, we've worked the bugs out, like here's gen 2, or here's our second take at it, and now you can trust that you're going to get a similar experience as when you buy a Radeon card, as when you buy an Nvidia card, at least for the basics. Maybe like not all the fancier software tricks are going to be up to par yet. Like I don't expect that from them. I just think that they've got to just nail the fundamentals to at least establish themselves as a reliable third player in the field. And that's honestly all that I'm looking for out of it.
You know what I would like? They wouldn't do it right now, but I know AMD sells direct. I was kind of hoping for this to come around this generation. Didn't see it too much. But you remember how they put out the blog post made big deals about how you need this level of card with an i5, like we compared the CPU versus GPU bottlenecks, and for these cards you need an i5, you need this with an i7. They were in position. They could do some really sweet bundle deals for just their CPU and limited edition GPU. And if they did something like that, they could make it real enticing if they nail those basics.
Yeah, I still feel like and I've heard this before from people who don't follow the space that well. Yeah, a couple people at least being like, oh, hey, when I'm building, I want to pair an Intel CPU with an Intel GPU, right? And I'm like, it's not always, it just doesn't necessarily work like that, but if it could, if you do see some actual benefit from it, whether it's a cost bundle thing, whether it's a feature set, AMD has done some of that, mostly on the mobile side with that, what is that, power?
Yeah, the power management thing.
Yeah. I love that power management thing. Yeah, like anything to be like, oh, hey, Intel plus Intel gets you this. This is why maybe you would be like, oh, well, technically, usually maybe I go NVIDIA, but wow, okay, the benefit you're getting from Intel plus Intel is like really apparent. Would be nice, yeah. Whether it's a pricing or a bundle deal or something like that. I mean,
throw another quick sync block in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just saw the us freak out over that 5800 X3D with a free motherboard. I do feel like AMD has gotten really good bundle deals like that, where just like, I mean, most of them are Micro Center too, where it's just like, oh my god, you're giving like free RAM and free motherboard. Okay, that's
not
right. Yeah, this one's
not Micro Center. That's what's so shocking about it.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I also think the other space is, man, really hit at that low end, because that's the spot where I feel like NVIDIA is the weakest. A lot of people are like, oh, do they need like a Halo product to compete with the 4090? I mean, that's, whatever.
Not even low end.
Yeah.
Just like sub 300 and below at this point. People are crying out for good options that are contemporary.
Yeah, and I feel like that's
and below.
I feel like that's NVIDIA's weakest area. If you're looking for the weak spots, that's the one to really hammer home. So quote
unquote weak, because they're ignoring it for a reason.
Yeah, no. I don't mean weak that the cards are bad. I just mean like, hey, a lot of people in that kind of price range are way more willing to look at other options, and there are the comparable options from AMD and what's out for ARC right now is still pretty awesome. So anyway, a couple more questions. We got some really good ones. Just a funny one. Starscream is a friend of the show. Starscream has asked 8700G live stream build when? Actually, I think that would be kind of funny if we did a dual build where we did 8700G on one end and then the other end is the whatever that 12400F, and I don't remember the GP said is the equivalent price. That would be kind of fun.
And then do a face-off after.
Yeah, right.
We're in Crisis right after we finish building.
Yeah. Liquidar asks, actually, I'll save that. Oh, we answered this one.
There's some fun ones in there.
Yeah, CosMC, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but looking at the hub testing for the 8700G, do you consider this a throwaway APU only CPU? If slot this with a 7800X T for 1440p at the end of the year, am I going to be disappointed? We talked about this a little bit. I feel like you'd be less disappointed with that versus a 12400F with a 7800X T. Personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also ignoring cost, right? Because our conversation today is specific to launch prices and what you get it for now. Like the conversation we'll have, I think what Kaz said, like it's like for the future, like Black Friday-ish kind of stuff. Like that's going to be different then because the prices will probably be different. Our perceived value of them are going to be different. You know, there could be some hardware launches. I don't know anything, but there could be some hardware launches between now and then.
I think something like the 7700 XT will probably be faster, like in pure games would be my guess. But that being said, I think the question to ask yourself, if you're talking about pairing it with a GPU later in the year, is would you rather take a 5 or 10% shave off the top of that high-end 1440p build in November that you're building and be able to play games for the next 10 months on your integrated graphics right now? And if you'd rather just start playing games now off that APU, that's 100% where I would lean.
Yeah, and I just looked at that 12400F is just 6 P cores, no efficiency cores, so 6 core 12 thread, max turbo frequency of 4.4. So it's 65 watt part, but can boost up higher. Supports DDR5 as well. Depends on the motherboard, obviously.
I think the G parts also boost, don't they?
Yeah. Let me see. I have the numbers in my chart. Boosts up to 5.1.
And I think it's worth, you use the word CosMC disappointed. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you take a 7700 XT and slap it in after you've been playing either no games or integrated graphics games. Like, no matter where you're coming from, even if it is theoretically being bottlenecked by some minuscule percentage by the CPU, it's going to be such an improvement over what you had before, you're not going to feel it. So I don't think you would be disappointed if you do that.
Yeah, I mean, that 7800 XT, at least in the test rig I had, which is obviously real high end. I mean, yeah, it's punching way above its weight class. I mean, it's in some of these games, man, it approaches a 4070 Ti non-super, and it's just like, wow, okay, that's a damn card. All right. Here, another question from friend of the show, VC Jester. Should we just start naming GPUs by their internal resolution instead of calling them the usual mid-tier and low-end? NVIDIA engineered the latest cards to fall on their face if you try to run a little high resolution to force an upgrade. So you call a 1440p basic, 4070 Ti 1440p mid-range, and a 4070 Super 1440p high-end. That would be hilarious. You look on the box and it just says 1440p low end.
You know what? Honestly, though, I think that would be wonderful from a consumer perspective, but no marketing department is ever going to approve that. However, that is a good idea for tech journalists to consider if they're trying to make things more friendly for consumers, which I think when we do write them up, we do that.
That's still, but I mean that's almost too much of a generalization, though, because like to say, oh, this card specifically is 1440p medium. Okay, what games, what kind of settings? Like, there's no one.
Oh, you can still do broad strokes. You could say, hey, I'm looking for a standard, not super high end 1440p card. And you'd say, go get a 4070 Super or go get a 78 XT.
Well, but a lot of times,
but it could also be high refresh rate 1080p.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Like, so really, you would say 1080p 165 hertz or 1440p 60 hertz.
So you just need a chart, right? Where it's like you just have a chart of like all the parameters, and then you just have the names of the cards listed.
God, imagine if
In the
Like a
box.
size chart.
I just had this idea. You're talking about
Size
charts.
chart.
Imagine you go into Micro Center and just plastered by each of the products, they have like benchmark charts, like printed off benchmark charts from like Gamers Nexus or something. You're just like sitting there like reading the
Or
charts.
PC
I
World.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I know most of the people listening are not going to be familiar with this, but there are like size charts for like women's like clothes where like you're just like, if you're this size, you want this, and it's like color shaded, so you're like, oh, well, my friend is a completely different shape of body than I am, but we happen to be in the same size category, right? So it's like your friend who's doing 1080p, 300, like 360 hertz is in the same category as me who's doing like 4K.
Or at Micro Center, it should be one of those flow charts where it's like, okay, what are you looking for? Is this within your budget? No, then go to this next one, and so forth.
Oh, a flowchart.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I-
That would be fun.
Before we move on, I just want to point out that, Jester, you brought up the point that NVIDIA tuned its cards to perfectly hit the resolutions they're targeting. And I totally agree with that. But I also think it's worth pointing out that AMD actually started that last generation with the Radeon 3000 series when it introduced Infinity Cache. It debuted, the pairing of on-die cache with smaller memory buses as a cost savings measure, with no real loss to performance unless you step up in resolution with that. And it clearly does cost savings and works well. And now NVIDIA has adopted the same. So people are catching on to it being NVIDIA this generation because NVIDIA sells so much, but AMD actually pioneered that front.
Congratulations, AMD.
It's
A pioneer, another pioneer.
good. It's good and bad, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, because we also talk about it is nice to know it can perform, depending on the resolution, but we also talk about how when you buy a monitor, a lot of people stick with a monitor a long time. So the chances, the chances of you upgrading a monitor before you upgrade your GPU, is also different. A lot of people are like, hey, no, this is a monitor I have, and I'm going to have it for a long time. So sure, maybe it can do better at 4K, but I'm not going to get a 4K monitor anytime soon. So yeah, I don't know. But also it's a psychological thing, right? Oh, I might not ever overclock my CPU, but I'm glad I got the K part, or that kind of thing. So all right, couple more fun ones, and then we'll get out of here. Friend of the show, Liquid RS, is there any PC game that you no longer own or have never owned that you lament not being able to buy anymore? Examples would be Black and White, the movies, Driver San Francisco. Man, I totally forgot about the movies before this comment. That was pretty fun.
The movies.
Is there an old PC game that you wish you could get your hands on?
I don't have an answer to that immediately off the top of my head. No One Lives Forever is a hard one to get. It might be on GOG now, but it hasn't been forever. And one of the things, I just went down to visit my father's house this Christmas, and I found my old box copies of a bunch of my old games, including No One Lives Forever.
Hey.
So I'm super jazzed about that.
Yeah, put it in your CD drive and just read it. You're good.
Yeah, I got to get one of those. But for me, the answer as of today is Spec Ops: The Line. It's not super old right now, but just yesterday it was pulled off of Steam and all other digital storefronts.
Really?
Because it lost some sort of rights issues. Like it had Jimi Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner playing at points. It had other things. And that really stinks because it's not the best best third-person shooter, but that's one of those rare games that actually made you stop and think and go, and look at stuff from a different perspective. And I think it's a major bummer that that's now lost to the world. And that happened in the past 24 hours.
Yeah, I really need to get
about that game.
Yeah, I really need to get my buddy who's over at the the Video Game History Foundation to come on the show. I've been meaning to have him on the show to talk about rights management.
Yeah, that'd be super rad.
All that kind of stuff. Because it definitely is a problem. I feel like it's different on the PC because there are so many different avenues. Where on the console, it's kind of a whole different thing because it's a closed ecosystem. But
well, I think Lewis Law in YouTube chat is pointing out a really good, point here, which is that this is why hard copies still matter, because that's how you can preserve the history. Because like if it gets delisted and everyone only has a digital license of it, it makes it a lot harder to preserve preserve that for future generations to know about and
Yeah.
interact with it.
Except for online, right? Because the one I just thought of in my head was, man, I missed out on the Matrix Online, and I really
Yeah.
wanted to be on the Matrix Online. But even if you have a hard copy, you can't get on the Matrix Online.
Server-based games,
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I guess that's my answer. Like, there's no way. I have heard of like, people trying to spin up their own servers of it, but it's
Yeah.
not the same.
It's hard.
That's probably
Yeah,
the one I'm
depends.
like, man. I mean, I don't think it was like that great of a game, but it was official canon, and it would have been cool to like take part of it.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that kind of stuff, like servers and video game preservation and stuff like that, go check out his name's on YouTube, Accursed Farms. Some of y'all probably know about him. He does Ross's Games Dungeon is his big thing. He looks at classic games and goes through them. He's funny and clever. It's a great site. But he specifically does an ongoing bit because he hates always online games, and he does a bit every couple of months called Dead Game News about all the games that their servers have shut down and stuff like that. So worth
It's like
checking
a
out.
little graveyard.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little
Yeah, he just did a special for the crew because the crew just shut down. So.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, last question. We got to get Lena some food. Friend of the show, VC Jester asks, when Optimus Prime gets hurt, does he use auto or health insurance?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Both.
I mean, does he live in the
I think
United
it would-
States? Does he live in the United States? Because it's going to be really important to know which one's the primary insurance and which one's the secondary.
Can I do an
I would think
estimate real quick?
I think it would depend on which form he was in, right? Because if he's humanoid, you would think maybe go get the health insurance. If you're in the auto style, maybe go roll into a mechanic.
But isn't he still mechanical, regardless?
True. Yeah, he's only in humanoid form. So yeah, I'm gonna say auto insurance. Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, there's a lot of Transformers lore out there. I bet this has been talked about. There's comics. There's so many different versions of the cartoon. Video games. There's got to be somewhere in the lore where this has been talked about. Where he's like, oh man, I've got a fever. Oh crap! Do I go to the mechanic or do I go to the doctor?
Wait, Keith we were talking at CES. He watched recently the new one, the Beast Transformer one. I was
the
like,
Bumblebee
that-
sequel or whatever.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, so if they're in Beast form, they're not cars. So is that
In beast form, they're also not human.
they're not?
So
is
you
it,
go to the
is
vet.
It vet?
Yeah.
Did they go to the vets then?
No, you just take him behind the barn.
Oh no!
Sorry, Bumblebee.
Oh no!
Gotta save the bees. Save the bees.
Man, dang, Brad is just—he's brutal. Okay,
No.
don't bring my kitties around Brad.
Oh no.
What can we?
Noted.
Oh God, can we not end on that note?
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I don't have a barn.
Okay. Let's not end on that note. $5 Canadian super chat from friend of the show, Coffee. Thank you so much. Have you read the novel The Three Body Problem? If not, what is your favorite novel? What the hell is
Oh,
the
do
Three
I-
Body Problem? That
Oh no,
sounds-
do I want to? Wait,
Yeah.
what?
Are we searching
Is this
for
something
this
we should
now?
Google? The Three
Do we
Body.
want? I'm gonna let you do it.
Yeah, the Three Body Problem. The series portrays a fictional past, present, and future where Earth encounters an alien civilization from a nearby system of three sunlight. Okay, so it doesn't sound like some
Okay, so we're
sexy
not talking
time.
like human centipede.
No, it sounds like it's a time thing. Like it happens in 3 points in time. I don't know. No, I've never heard of this. So
I think it's
I have
a
not.
show coming on Netflix as well.
I did
Oh,
hear
really?
that. Yeah. Okay.
It's a novel turn
Fine.
adapted to a series. Maybe I don't know if that's
Okay.
the same one you're referring to, Coffee. But yeah,
Hmm.
here
Oh.
that's a buzz right now.
okay, I have not. So it doesn't sound like any of us have. So second question: if not, what is your favorite novel? Real quick, I'm sorry, I'm not a English major. I don't know how to say this. What constitutes
either.
a novel? Is that a novel is
a
specifically
certain
Book.
length. There's a certain length of it. Most books you're gonna read, they're novels. Like
it's-
if and novels are usually a
it's
reference
fiction.
to fiction.
fiction? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my other question. So
Yeah.
it's fiction, and it's a book of a certain length. That's what determines it a novel.
Well, because you can have what are called novellas. So they're books, but they're kind of they're shorter. Like I think they're like 50 to 60,000 words. Don't quote me on that. And then now we're getting into the weeds, like kind of like publishing jargon. So and most people besides me and Brad aren't going to really know things by word count.
You are wearing an Oxford comma shirt, so.
Yeah, if there's
saying,
anyone
most
I'm going to
people
ask on
listening-
staff about what is a novel, what is the literal definition of a novel, I would turn to you, Elena.
I'm just saying, like most books on the market, like if you're reading Tom Clancy, whatever, like that's considered novel length. So if the book's about that thick, long, then that's
Okay, because
That's
my first thought was, have I ever read a novel? What constitutes a novel? I don't know what.
I mean,
constitutes.
you surely have during your high school years at least, right?
Well, that's assuming I did the homework.
Okay,
Did you do the homework?
sorry. I was very into I was very into my English classes. If you
That
couldn't
sounds like a
tell.
lot of reading to me, and I
You get to see your report card, Adam.
I was like, I got some Metal Gear Solid to play.
I mean, you could also count if you listen to audiobooks. That also is valid.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
I read a
You
lot
don't
of
have to
manga
have one.
books.
It's fine.
I've read Liam. I have read a book. Yes, I've read a book. I've read plenty of books. I currently read books. I just don't know what constitutes a novel.
Savage.
Yeah.
So savage.
We're all finding out why Adam's on the video team now.
Yes, I am not on the written team for a reason. So I'm like, wow, this review is novel length. I wouldn't want to read this. Ziv says we're sending Adam back to high school 21 Jump Street style. Oh man, can you imagine me going back to high school and be like, what up kids? How you doing?
Like, are you
How-
supposed to be
hey,
the
what-
teacher
Well,
here?
Yeah, what's the coolest novel you kids read lately? They're like, okay, boomer.
You're like, no, you would say that, and you're like, you have to tell us if you're a cop, bro.
Yeah. No, I'm like the Steve Buscemi, the what up kids? Yeah.
How do you do, kids?
I have actual answers.
Oh, please take this away from me.
Yeah. So I have several answers, actually. My favorite graphic novel by far is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I have tattoo on my wrist from part of that.
Oh wait,
four of
so
them? That's not my
real quick,
wrist.
there's a difference between a graphic novel and a comic book.
A graphic novel is
Yeah.
a one long story comic book like collection
Mhm.
thing. Yeah.
So
So
my
manga's
so novels can be graphic novels. Or I'm sorry,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Graphic novels can be comic books, but comic books can't be. No.
Think of them as like the difference between TV shows and movies. So a graphic novel is more like a movie. You're getting like one story in
Oh.
like a much more constant or like elongated, concentrated form. Whereas comic books are much more like installation, installment
Okay.
type approach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My favorite actual novel is also by Neil Gaiman. I'm a Neil Gaiman fan. I have another tattoo of a quote from his. American Gods. The TV show on Amazon wasn't great, but I love that book. I've read it a dozen times. And you didn't ask about nonfiction, but I recently read a book called Raw Dog: The Naked Truth About Hot Dogs by Jamie Loftus. And it's outstanding and funny. You should read it. And informative.
Okay. Elena, favorite novels?
Dude, I'm gonna give the Weasley answer, which is like this is I'm not gonna spoil that movie, even though that movie's old. This is an impossible choice. I don't think I could pick just even
Lord of the
10
Rings.
favorites.
Lord of the Rings, is that a novel, even though it's 3 parts?
No. Like I tried. So like when those movies were out and everyone was like, "This is amazing," I'm like, okay, like I'm a book snob. I'm gonna go read the books because obviously those are gonna be better than the movies. I was like, no. Peter Jackson did us all a favor. He cut it to the
But that's
most.
not a novel? Because those are long books.
Well, those are novels.
Oh, those are novels. Oh, okay. Well, then I've
Although
read,
I would say novels usually have kind of like the word novel kind of has like this connotation to it though that it's like fiction, like way more like a little bit more weighty, like not just like
A fiction book.
not just it doesn't always necessarily refer to like anyway that's
I need to
that's
go
my-
back. Yeah, sorry.
anyway
Your favorite.
but I don't want to name mine either, the ones that come to mind, because they're all like snooty English major ones. Like, I don't-
Now I want to know. You can't just say that. You think you're going to be
Can't leave us
judged? You're
on
not
a
going to be judged
cliffhanger.
here. I'm the one being judged here. People don't think I read books.
Oh
so-
no, people are going to
You read
identify with
books.
you because most people I talk to, they're like, I don't read, and I'm like, that's fine, I do. My job is secure. So I would say like one really stereotypical quote unquote answer, especially because people are going to look at me and they're like, oh, that seems typical for your gender, is that I really do love Jane Austen novels.
Ugh,
Not necessarily
that's so
just Pride and
stereotypical.
not just Pride and Prejudice though, but I really liked Persuasion and Mansfield Park, which don't get talked about as much because I like good writing. So like I like books where I don't care if they're like young adult novels or entertainment kind of genres. I just really love people who can wield the written word just in such a amazingly graceful and often really creative ways. So like when I didn't read Harry Potter books for forever because I have this thing where I'm not even counterculture, but I'm like, it's so popular, everyone likes it. I want to read it because everyone's reading it. And I finally picked it up and I was like, oh no, this writer actually really understands how to use words. Like this is really good. And I got over myself. And so for me, Jane Austen is really a treat because she is so sly. She is so whip smart and sharp about how she can just portray a character and then skewer them with at the same time. And I think it's so clever and I love that. And so for me, that's what I really enjoy about books. Like a lot of my in high school, a lot of people, we read like Grapes of Wrath, and most of it was like, this is the most depressing story ever, which it is. It is really depressing. Like Dust Bowl America, not a fun period to go back and like, see detailed like that. But it's just so good because of like how well it's documented, to me it's like kind of probably the same for like you and movies, right? Or just like a visual media. It's like how well do they tell the story? How good are they at the craft? And so for me that's what I enjoy most. And so some of my choices are kind of like stereotypical, like old school canon, which is thankfully getting blown up and being made more diverse. But yeah, so sometimes I'm a little embarrassed about that because I'm like, I'm the equivalent of the person who gets pumpkin spice lattes every October.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't know if it's a novel, but one book I am trying to go back and read that's I've always wanted to is Neuromancer. So I don't know if that's a novel, but I am reading. Okay, it's not just picture books. Willis, any novels?
So we're again on the line. Manga, graphic novel, comic books.
Yeah,
which is it? Is manga graphic novel or comic?
Graphic novels. That would be the closest how you would describe them in English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, just a lot of mangas going up, but
so many good series.
Yeah. One that really stood out is, and I had to look this earlier. What a Wonderful World by Inio Asano. It's a series of short stories. It has 2 volumes. I think it has ended already, but great short stories. I love like it's a young adult slice of life kind of like like making life decisions sort of at the time when you're young, dumb and broke, so I love those kind of settings. Yeah. But yeah.
Nice. All right. We're gonna get out.
Now I'm old, dumb and broke.
Yeah. Somebody said earlier, Bori is your friend of the show, Bori Zero said, final proof that you can feed Elena some literature to temporarily calm her hunger. There you go. Boom.
My stomach still hurts, but I am happier.
Yeah. Well, we need to get out of here so she can actually feed her mouth with something other than a novel. Don't put a book in your mouth. Well, I mean, I guess you could. Whatever.
I tried it during the predictions episode.
Say Friday's during the paper is not nourishing or enjoyable to consume.
Well, what is enjoyable to consume is the Full Nerd. Check back next week for your fix of PC talk on the Full Nerd. Next week we have a nice little announcement. Definitely tune into that one. I'm excited to talk about it. To listen to us on the go, subscribe to us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Pocket Cast, wherever you can point your RSS feed to. Hopefully we are on that service. If we're not, let me know because we need to figure out. Also, I've realized you can submit video versions of podcasts to Spotify recently. I need to find our Spotify login, so we maybe I'll start uploading the video over there. Is anyone interested in watching the video version on Spotify? I don't know. Let me know.
Let us know. But honestly, when they release their podcast, like their interface isn't super great.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I mean, nobody's been asking me for it, but then I saw like because I newsletters anyway. Every time. Could go any of those services you're on, please leave us a review. Every time you do, I get to read a new novel. And not just a picture book. So please make me a smarter person by reading a novel and leaving a review. Nobody's done it in a while, so I haven't read a novel in a while. So I want to thank my co-host Brad Charkis for joining. Thanks, Brad.
Adios, y'all. No problem.
Yeah. Also want to thank Elena Yee and her Oxford comma.
Oxford Commerce, great, everybody.
Yeah, it's the way to do it, I guess. I want to thank you. But I also want to thank you, Willis Lai, the controller of the verticals and horizontals. Take us out of here.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Just a quick reminder, it is, everyone on the chat was saying, Gong Hei Fa Choi, Happy New Year. It's not Lunar New Year yet. It is on February 10th on a Saturday. So maybe in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have to ask Adam to, spruce up his Mandarin and give us a lesson on what he's learned so far. Right, Adam?
Washer Adam.
There you go. That's just a little preview.
There we go.
Right?
Just a little preview.
But,
Watch out.
yeah.
Watch out. I'm coming for you.
We're gonna quiz him on
Prepping
that.
for Computex.
Yeah, I'm
There you
prepping
go.
for Computex. I'll just go around and tell everyone, hi, my name's Adam. Ni hao,
Start.
Washer Adam. They're
You'll
like,
know more
okay.
Mandarin than me.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, thank you everyone again for tuning in. We will see you next time. Bye.